Assalamualaikum and a very good day. Ayub to Madam and to other my fellow group members. Okay, so this is our analysis on our group presentation. Okay, our issue is teacher absenteeism, and I am Farahin Binti Ayub, and my other member is Alia Majdina Binti Mansor, and we will present on the issue of teacher absenteeism. Before I proceed to my slides, okay, let me tell you about the table of contents of the slides. Okay, so I will present on the introductions of the issue and also the code of the ethics. Meanwhile, Alia Majina will present on the human rights of the issue. Okay, so for these introductions, I will tell you and I will define about the professions. What is a professionals? What is personal absence? What is professional absence? And what is the absenteeism, which is our issue? Okay, first and foremost is profession. What is profession? A profession is an occupation which performs a crucial social function. So in order to accomplish the functions, it requires a considerable degree of skills and it requires a body of systematic knowledge grounded in theory. And this acquisition of this body of knowledge and the development of specific skills entails a lengthy period of higher education. And this period of education and training involve the process of socialization into professional values. And these professional values tend to center on the preeminence of essential for the professional to have the freedoms, which is the freedoms of make their own judgment with regards to appropriate practice. Okay, so what about professional? Professional is one who has a specialized knowledge base, which is technical culture, and someone who has also a commitment to meeting clients' need, which is the service ethics, and someone who has strong collective identity professional commitment, which is the professional commitment, or someone who have a collegial as against bureaucratic control over practice and professional standards, which is the professional's autonomy. Okay, so let's take a look on the personal absence. Okay, personal absence means that when a teacher is absent from the classroom due to a personal reasons, and the teacher decides to be absent for such reasons such as illness, death in the family, or to attend a child's graduation, or for any personal reasons. And this personal absence is distinguished from professional absence in that the teacher makes the decision to be absent from the classroom. Meanwhile, the professional absence means that when a teacher is asked or required by the district, school, or other governmental entity to be absent from the classroom. Okay, means that the teacher is absent from the classroom for such reasons such as hearings, meetings, scoring examinations, professional developments, conferences, or jury duty. Okay, professional absences are distinguished from personal absences before that I have explained, in that the teacher is asked or required to be absent from the classroom. So what is absenteeism that we are going to discuss today? So absenteeism means that when a teacher is not in the classroom for any reasons, and this includes absences for personal reasons and when the teacher is asked or required to be absent from the classroom. And it includes both personal and professional absences. And this issue is very crucial because the effect of the teacher absenteeism can affect on the student's performance, since it can give many factors that will be impact on the student's learning. Okay, so let's move on the first section, which is the teaching code of ethics. Okay, so let me define the ethical practice in social work education. According to Ganserhorst 2012, as a professional, an educator is in a position to exercise ethical and professional judgment. Okay, according to the Singh A 2021, he defined that ethics is an act of dealing with right or wrong options with commitment and moral duty. So let's move to the importance of educational ethics. So when I stress the importance of ethics in education, it constitutes the repository of their social and cultural values and the medium of their historical memory. In common usage, multicultural education generally refers to education about different ethnic groups. As dialogue on cultural difference and education has spread to other nations, it has become more sharply focused on complex issues of identity, diversity, and citizenship. The relationship between democracy, citizenship, and education cannot be treated in isolation from the question of multiculturalism. So, schools should ensure multicultural perspectives that are incorporated into all aspects of school life by first promoting diversity as a positive learning experience. Okay, so let me explain about this. Okay, when school promoting diversity as a positive learning experience, it means that we incorporating multicultural perspective across all learning domains, incorporating multicultural, anti-racism, and human rights perspective in school policies and practices, enhancing teachers and student intercultural understanding and cross-cultural communication skills. It means that teaching multicultural in the classroom is very important. It is because at the basic level, multicultural education provides a fundamental education for all students with the purpose of eliminating discrimination because of ethnic origin and also because of the background. So by incorporating many cultures into the classrooms, school as well as us teachers can celebrate diversity, learn about cultures around the world, and also we can raise awareness. Okay, so there are there are a few steps to bring multicultural into classroom. Okay, for other importance is we can also provide basic educations. So by means provide by basic education is we can provide basic educations to have some respect and understanding. Okay. Okay, so by providing a basic education for our students, it means to keep in mind that there are stereotypes for other races students. Okay, by understanding that you'll be teaching students from many different walks of life, you will have won half the battle. Therefore, please do not favor or ignore other races students specifically. You may feel like you should favor the students so you can teach them more. However, it is very important to treat all of your students, whether from your races or whether from the outside races, with the same respect and understanding. Okay, we also should address language and cultural norms, means that dispel myths that are often associated with the certain cultures by avoiding using jargon while speaking. Okay, the third point, why it is important of educational ethics because of the ethical standards. Okay, it means that to protect teachers from misconduct and enhance public trust. Okay, ethics evoke decision and also actions compatible with what we believe is right. And one shed lights on ethical principles that are drawn from a country culture, while the other focus on the ethical principles that are common across country. Okay, from the previous studies, it shows that the approach focus on the ethical attitudes that are unique to a country, maintain that national culture has an influence
on ethical attitudes and also their behaviors. Okay. The national culture as shared experience that form common values and policies in society and lead to a unique way of perceiving a world. Means that the attitude that focuses on the communal etiquette perceptions and behavior in different countries derive from the claim of universal culture. Okay, in education, both attitudes are represented. So means that ethical practice in the context of the cultural diversity and other that investigate the similarity between countries, for example, human rights in education. Okay, a code of ethics is a written document which is drafted by a professional body with the goals of guiding practitioners, protecting clients, and also preserving the reputations of their professions. Okay, so the codes of ethics comprise the ethical standards related to organization and are generally created on the basis of the collaboration between the practitioners and scholars. Okay, in schools, the aims of a teacher's code ethics is to set the guidelines for the ethical standards of professional conduct. Thus, the codes may protect teachers from misconduct and as a result may enhance public trust in the teaching profession. Meanwhile, in most countries, teachers' code of ethics were developed collaboratively by educational leaders such as school principal, superintendents, government representative, and also teachers' union representative. Therefore, we presume that this code reflects the ethical values of the educational leaders who draft them and can reflect common ethical aspects of school practice across different countries. Okay, the last one, why it is important of educational ethics, because in order of confidentiality. Okay, it means that to maintain confidentiality and reduce risk being exposed. Okay, when the parents who cannot trust professionals or teachers to treat information as confidential may withhold information that is important to assessment and treatments. And when the professionals disregard the privacy of their clients, which is the parents and the students are injured in obvious and or in a subtle way. So these 4 points are the importance of educational ethics in the teaching codes.
So according to Malaysian Teaching Code of Ethics, so we have parental involvement in this issue. Okay, so this primary category elicits into two main categories, which are dominant categories and also the secondary categories. Okay, for the according to the Ministry of Education in Malaysia, for the dominant category, okay, so it means that we have to inform the parents. So in Malaysia, teachers should establish cordial relationship and cooperation between the schools and pupils' parents to inform parents about the matters that concerns the pupils' welfare. Moreover, for the secondary category, so according to Ministry of Education in Malaysia, we as the teachers should treat all information supplied by parents as confidential. Means that teachers should avoid using parents' social and economic status for personal gains. And also, teachers should avoid using inappropriate remarks that may affect people's confidence in their parents or guardian. Okay, so why teachers' accountability is very important? Because it will give impacts on the students' academic performance. So teachers will understand the difficulties by the students because when she or he accounts the accountability in her attitude. I think this is a way to show that we care for the people. Caring represents as an interaction between people in which an individual, in this context the teacher, put personal needs aside in the favor of the needs of another student. Hence, the teacher will not only show their concerns for the pupil's studies, but also their well-being. So maybe the teacher will have some private talks to understand the problems encountered by the pupils, particularly the low proficiency pupils in following their lessons. In my point of view, this is the best way of reaching out to the students because it enables them to feel being cared for, understood, and supported than being left out. Okay. And for the social and emotional behavior of students, teachers can build a good rapport with the parents of the students. It's mean that to reach out to the students. Okay, in my opinion, having a good connection with the parents is important because it enables us to understand our students better. Parents usually state their concerns for the children, and this will give the teachers a platform to discuss with them on ways to help their children perform in the academic and co-curriculum. Teachers also can working closely with the parents, teachers, can understand the student and in turn provide the best education strategies possible. Teachers can also encourage the students to participate in outdoor activities in order to develop holistically. So there are activities outside the classroom organized by school nowadays in order to support like One Murid One Sukan that is introduced by the Ministry of Education. So by participating in these activities, teachers will have the opportunity to mingle with the students outside the classroom. And this is very important, especially because the teachers' participations and the involvement in non-academic events give us, the teachers, the opportunity to interact with the students and enable them to know that we offer support to them in these activities. As the conclusion, I think that these different ways to reach out to the students are the pillars of the country because it is our honors to build their characteristics and potentials holistically. And we will be an effective teacher in order to fulfill our accountability to our students, ourselves, our society, and our nation, as well as our colleagues and professors, as required by Malaysian Teachers Codes of Ethics and Teachers Accountability. Okay, so these are the references for my part, section 1. So I pass the baton to Alia Majdina, and she will present on the section B, which is the provisions of human rights according to our issue.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day. I bid to Madam Sabia. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Alia Majdina Binti Mansor, and today I am going to present on section B, the provision of human right, specifically on children right for education. This is done with a close reference to the analysis of teacher absenteeism case in Sabah, where the students are currently seeking for the legal battle to sue the teachers for what he had done during his teaching years at the school. The student claimed that he never went to class, so they never did learn anything for almost a year. Now, more and more students had also filed a report for these respective teachers. So based on the case here, it can be seen clearly that the teacher had obviously violated the children's right for education. First, let me explain a little bit about children's right to education. It is actually very simple. Every child has the right to learn. However, the right to education is sometimes a notion that many take for granted. So, as we know, education is a basic human right for all, and it's important for everyone to make the most of their life. All children have the right to go to school and learn, regardless of who they are, where they live, or how much money their family has. So now, what are some of the rights the students have during their schooling years? First, a compulsory free primary school education for every child. Second, a secondary school must be available to everyone, so the government must work toward providing this for free. By referring for the cases, the children's rights were purposely denied by the teachers because his absenteeism at school had somehow impacted the student education right. As a result, they are not fully having their right fulfilled by the teachers. Now, as an educators, how can we guarantee the children's rights? So, here, the government must play an important role in order to guarantee that education in our country is at international level. So, there are 4 aspects that need to be considered. The first one is the education must be made available for all. So, example, there must be an adequate materials for the lesson, and the classroom should be provided to the students, and they should be taught by a trained teachers, and etc. There's a lot of other factors that need to be available for the student to have their right fulfilled by the government, because the quality education must be available to every child. Next is the education must be accessible. What it means by accessible is that school must be within reach, and it must be suitable for disabled children and fit for every purpose. And one more thing, they should be affordable for all children. And also, when the children attend the school, when they are at the school, there must be no discrimination for gender, race, religion, or any other reason. Next, education should be acceptable. Education must be of a high quality and include relevant information that is appropriate for the children. For example, children with disabilities also have the right to attend the school and have the same quality of education as other regular students have. Lastly, education should be adaptable. Schools and also school system must be suitable for the communities they serve. Now, if we take a look at the issues with the teachers on the absenteeism case, I am going to focus these discussions on the aspect of availability of the teachers at school to teach the students, since this case is directly related with what were claimed by the former student at the school, where the teachers do not attend the class for almost a year. If we take a look at the case, we can see that it was actually not a new case. Based on the newspaper report, I think the cases was first reported in 2018, but still there is no final verdicts on the teachers based on the accusation that made by their students. But the latest information that I got was that on 2020, there were 4 more former students of the teachers who took part in suing the teachers. So the number are currently increasing, and we would never know how this one would end. All of them point out that extreme teacher absenteeism in their school happened without any relevant explanation given to them. So this is the case where the students were deliberately left behind by the teachers. Teachers do not attend the class, but they also do not provide any legal reason for the students to know what is actually happening. The National Transformation Program for Education do speak about upgrading good teachers, but little is being said about bad teachers. Because when we talk about bad teachers, which is to some is considered as a sensitive topic, since no one wanted to be looked as a bad one in any situations. But this is the impact of what happened when the problematic teachers were not given any disciplinary action. Just take a look at the case. Without any action taken by the education sector, the students themselves take up the courage to fight against the teacher who violated their rights to get a proper education. Only then, after reports were made by the student, extreme absenteeism of the teachers were taken into consideration. But despite all this, personally, I think this case of absenteeism start with teacher being absent from school without valid reasons. So when those situations were not properly handled or might just properly being dismissed, eventually it will lead to some heavy violations on the students' right for education. This case happened in rural area in Sabah. It is getting some hype from the media because the students themselves took initiative to expose the teachers wrongdoing by taking some legal actions. They exposed the name of the teachers and even fight against their right as a students, that they said that what happened actually is the fault of the teachers and also the principal of the school. But if we take a deeper look at this case happened in a rural area in Sabah. Again, I said a rural area in Sabah. However, the real question is, why rural area? This is just a guess by me based on what is currently being debated by the public. I do believe at certain extent that sometimes the teacher at rural area had problem with their attendance at school. Not everyone, but there's still certain cases that wasn't recorded. I think it's already happened before, but the fact that it was not documented does not mean that it was not there. There is a cases like this, but when the student doesn't take any charges on the teachers or make any reports, then there will be no action will be taken on the teachers. Only if they take it to the legal part, only then will the teachers were given some considerations by the authorities. And I also think that since for those kind of teachers, and I could just refer them as a bad teachers probably, when there is no legal action were taken, cases like this are just being ignored without considering the effect that it will bring in the futures. Based on what I read, some reports do point out that in school with no or probably low community or parental involvement, where the community was poor and they also have very poor facilities and also resources, their academic background was not that good. So that kind of aspect or that kind of places are where the teachers are more likely to be absent. So this characteristic has indirectly reflecting on the community in rural area. Because based on the statistic, not surprisingly, literacy rates are high in Peninsular Malaysia at 95%, but significantly lower in Sabah and Sarawak at 79 and 70% respectively. Because if you can see that their communities are, well, not everyone, but certain people at rural area are poor, inaccessible, less educated, and probably have lower expectation of their children. So can you imagine a student walking an hour and a half to school where there is no path, where there's no easy path to school, or maybe there's no public transport, but when they arrive at school, only to find out that there is no teachers to teach them. When this kind of situation happen, who is to blame? Because I think that irresponsible teachers take advantage of this by reporting for work, but not attending classes and also falsifying records that they were actually there. Because they can easily make some document to prove that they were there, but when the truth is they never went and teach anything to the student. Just because the teachers are teaching at rural area, it does not mean that the child education value less than the one in an urban area. Having the same right in education means that the children, regardless where they are from, should have been given the same treatment as the others. Now comes the question, what do teachers need to do to fulfill the children's right for education? Duties and responsibility of a teacher means you are not just teaching. You need to think about parent contact, paperwork, marking, cover lesson, and also keeping up with the subject and also the changes in curriculum. But first and foremost, the teachers need to consider the student needs as the core businesses. The key to teaching is providing effective learning to students who learn at a different pace and through various learning styles, while challenging them to become more knowledgeable. So how to define a good teacher? To me, it simply refers to a person that helps students in the classroom lesson and around the school for the student to become the best that they can be. I think there are a lot of teachers' duties and responsibilities. I'm just going to share some of them. I believe the teachers know better about the job scope and apply this on the student. You need to conduct assigned class at the scheduled times to demonstrate competence in classroom instructions, to provide opportunities for students to apply and practice what is learned, to model honesty, fairness, and ethical conduct. Those are just some, but there's a lot more. And in recent years, the public and its leaders have increasingly expected teachers and students to be more accountable to their works. The trend towards accountability has increased the legal requirement for becoming and remaining certified as a teacher. They should take personal responsibility for the quality of their work, hold each other accountable for its quality, and recognize and require special training in order to practice a good teaching method. Now, the question that begs to be answered is, who is accountable for extreme teacher absenteeism who violate the children's rights for education? It is obvious that the teacher will be first to be reprimanded and also be taken to disciplinary authorities for further action. If the case manages to prove that the teachers are at fault, the teacher should be out of this education system, which means exit policy for them. This will send a warning to all those bad teachers that they have to shape out their teaching practices so they will never abuse the children's right or they need to face heavy consequences. As an extension of the exit policy, the Ministry of Education could offer a voluntary separation scheme to teachers who in this case we refer to as those with a poor attendance record. It would be better to replace them with another inspiring teachers who really wanted to teach. But I also consider this from a different side or different perspective because initially the policy was drafted for problematic teachers. But nevertheless, I think that any teachers who had made their personal decision might exercise these exit policies to opt out from the public sector to maybe a private sector where it is quite different from the way it is administered. International school, private school, tuition center, and even homeschooling have now become an alternative and popular learning choice. The teachers are free to choose their career path in which they believe suit them more. They are still contributing to this education system in our country, but most probably in a different way and form. I think that would be 1,000 times better than the teachers who stay in the public education system but then fail to cater to the education right of the student. So for the conclusion, for most people, especially those in rural area, education is the best way out of poverty. So teacher need to return to our student their right to a proper education, as well as creating the right environment to enable a quality education for all. I think that's all from me. Thank you.